morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle Spotlight, and I am delighted today to have Rory and Grant on from Dataloft. Gentlemen, look at you resplendent in your pink hat. You've won me over already. You well?
Very well, thank you, Simon. You?
Yeah, ticking over, enjoying it all. Nice week of shows, and never better than finishing the week as well with somebody who you've teed me up, you've got me excited. Data is a game changer. You
we put ourselves under pressure with that title, haven't we?
You have. If you don't deliver now, then right. Yeah, it's going to be disappointing. Okay, guys, we're going to talk about. Let's just kick straight off then and take us in there. We'll deal with the subject line a little bit later. For those people though that don't know about Dataloft, could you just give us an overview, a quick overview of yourselves and obviously where you came from?
Yeah, shall I do that, Grant?
Yeah, go for it, Roy.
Yeah. So we started our story about 10 years ago, and we started it by a group of market analysts from Savills breaking away. The big boys up in London and setting up Dataloft. And back in those days, it was Savills and Knight Frank who were really the only brands out there who were using data, using property market data, or using insights from data to help build their brand. And fast forward 10 years, and Savills has got a team of 25 analysts, and they've built their whole brand around this concept of they're the undisputed experts in the market. They know their stuff. They're very sophisticated and intelligent brand. And so they've built their brand kind of around showing that they know their stuff. So we took that concept and we took it outside of London, and we worked with lots of London clients, and we allowed anyone around England, Wales, in fact, around the UK, and we've worked around the world, who wanted to demonstrate, sort of build their brand by demonstrating that they know the market inside out, to be able to do that. And so we started really kind of niche. So we had worked with very luxury kind of Mayfair brands in London who were up against Knight Frank, or Frank Knight, as Grant likes to call them. We were going up in pitches against the likes of Knight Frank and Savills. We helped them prepare to go in and to demonstrate that they knew as much about the market as those guys did. And so it grew around that kind of luxury market in London, and then it spread out further and further, and we worked with clients around England and Wales. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, we developed another product called Dataloft Inform, which we're kind of focusing on today, which was really based on the idea that not everyone has a huge budget to spend on a beautiful publication about the market. But we had so many people over the years going, "Oh, I've seen what you do for Weatherall or for Winkworth or for Charters or whatever. Can we have a bit of that?" And they didn't have the budget, so we decided to create Inform, which is basically a very affordable online platform, which is just full of content and market insights, right down to postcode sector and right out to national level. And it's up to date. They can get everything they need in seconds. And it basically allows them to be their own little Savills or Knight Frank, but for a fraction of the price, and actually and develop that own brand profile in their town, wherever they are, as being regarded as these guys really know their stuff. I trust them. I want to do business with them. So we've evolved really. So we've got Inform. We've still got our old bit of the business, the core bit, which we call Consult, which is working with big developers and estate agents and government think tanks and various things. And then we've also developed a really unique rental data set. We call that side of the business Dataloft Rental Market Analytics. Where we work with lots of build-to-rent experts or big lettings teams in big agency groups, etc. So that's a bit of a pot. So in essence, what do? We take huge amounts of data, we turn them into singular findings and insights, and then what we're quite famous for, as you can see behind me, is turning data really into a bit of an art form. We create graphics, we create stories from it, and make it very visual.
That's the real talent, isn't it? You've got. I mean, obviously, data. I won't say it's meaningless, but for the vast majority of people, if you can't express that in the right way, then it's it's the problem with estate agents having all the knowledge up here. You can be as knowledgeable as here, but if you can't get that out to the consumer themselves, then you're never going to make that much of an impact, are you?
No,
yeah,
I think
you help agents all the time to. I mean, it's an absolute minefield, data, isn't it? Because like in the early days, we had a lot of clients who they loved their spreadsheets and used to download big sets of data from the land reg, and then they tried to make sense of it and tried to turn it into something they could pass on to their clients. But it's dangerous in the wrong hands. You need a team of analysts looking at it, and then if you don't package it up in a creative way, then it kind of falls flat when you put it out. But Grant, you chat about how the agents use the content all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And with what Simon said there, I think visual is so important now, isn't it? Especially across social media. I think people, when they're scrolling down social media, visual, you've got to catch people's eye, and that's the beauty of what we do. I think that the ability to take a story and turn it into a visual. And it's great. I see some really creative ways with it on social media. Some of our subscribers. So, yeah, it is great. Visual is key.
And that, so you do things like widgets, don't you, on some clients' websites and things like that. So as you said, it's always there. It's available for people to do it, but it reinforces their own sort of efficacy in the marketplace, doesn't it? With what's going on, and that obviously is crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that whole concept about data. Why is data a game changer? It's like everything has evolved. It's more than ever, the public are so informed. They're so on the ball. They've just had about 4 months of watching the news endlessly and trolling through websites.
Yeah.
You can't pull the wool over their eyes anymore. And actually, as an agent, if you can be the one that doesn't necessarily sell to them, but you gain business from them by sharing information and relevant information with them about the market to help them make decisions, then you're going to steal a march on everyone else, because they know what's going on. And if you can be the agent that actually shares things with them that they want to receive, that's informative, that's insightful, that's intelligent, your brand and your perception of your brand in the marketplace is only going to go up and up and up. You find
they're not just better informed, though, are they? Because there is a danger. Some of them have taken that data and have misunderstood it as well, haven't they? And if they listen to the tabloids, for example, or bad news sources, they can get a completely different picture from a global property, let's say, price increases or price drops, and they're not putting that on a micro scale, which is obviously is the most vital thing of all when you're looking at property, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Grant.
Oh no, I was going to say you're absolutely right. I think some people, I speak to lots of agents that as soon as they get overwhelmed by it to a degree. And I think that's the beauty of what we do. We break it down so simply and put it into a nice visual that it's just so easy to use it and inform your audience and your town about what's going on in the market. So yeah, no, I do think people can get overwhelmed with it, but in terms of data,
I think there's just noise everywhere. There's so much noise, and there's so many. I know what's going on in the market. I know what's going on in the market, or what you need to. I mean, it's a bit like Kerfuffle. I'm stealing your strap line there, Simon, but it is about.
We stole it from someone else anyway. Don't worry.
I wonder where you got that idea from. Funnily enough, Dataloft also focuses really on cutting through the noise.
Yeah.
And actually, what people that work with us, they have the benefit of working with an independent, unbiased voice in the market.
Yeah.
So there's no agenda to the data and the insights that we create. Our subscribers, our clients, they tell it as it is. And what they put out in a market report or a flyer or a letter or on social media, they're reporting on what's actually happening in the market with no bias at all.
Because otherwise, why go to an agent, in all honesty, is there? You know, if they aren't the experts, if they aren't demonstrably giving it honestly, it's not always about just telling them what they want to hear there, is there? The reason that, you know, was it famously, what is it, 50% of people don't end up going with the estate agent they originally listed with? You know, all of these horrific stats that you hear out there are because people haven't been honest to a large degree to start off with. And what I love about it is it's what you do. It is advertising, and with advertising, as we know, it's consistency. But it's so obvious. It's so not a hard sell, is it? It's delivering value. It's delivering what the person actually wants. And I know, you know, we were talking to the great guys over at a Macaboon the other day when they talk about the market. As long as you keep that data hyper relevant in the way that you guys do, then you are not going to see the level of unsubscribes that people just ramming it down. You know, we've won this award or we've got this percentage market share, and that's the key, surely, for what you guys really the value you add to many agents.
Yeah, definitely. And what you said there, Simon, actually about the, you know, it's not just about market share. It's, you know, I think that's the big shift, isn't it? I think, you know, I've been in and around the property world for about 20 years. And, you know, I guess the marketing messages have evolved. You know, it was about, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago, it was you know, look at us, look at our experience. That still plays a part. But I think people want to be educated now and want reassurance of what's happening in their town, because everyone's interested, aren't they? I think I think people are interested in three things. They have an affection for friends and family, their biggest asset, which is their home, and the town they live in. If you can talk about those three things, you know, maybe talking about friends and family would be a bit weird, but property and town.
A new angle.
Absolutely. But I think, you know, everything in terms of a marketing strategy, there's lots of things that make that up. But I think, you know, what we've seen from our subscribers is, you know, they take people on a journey of what's happened in their town. And yeah, it seems to work with lots of our subscribers, which is great.
Brendan's here agreeing with you. Exactly what Rory said. Really powerful, can be super localized. I do love that localization. You know, hyper local might sound like a marketeer's thing, but it's just totally relevant, isn't it? And if you aren't delivering on the hyper local, because let's face it, people only care about the few streets around theirs, but this is the important factor, isn't it? They care about that implicitly.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of there's some brilliant suppliers out there and brilliant products. But what a lot of people struggle to get hold of is what content can I use that people will actually care about, you know, and the only thing they care about is what can you give me that actually helps me, because I don't really care about your business.
No.
The fact that I mean, I'm not going to say that we don't care about the fact you've won awards and all that sort of stuff. You know, that should be part of your marketing mix, and that's really important for an agent. But the bottom line is like, yeah, I don't really care about your awards, but you sent me a report the other day, which was a really interesting overview of the market, and I'd like to talk to you about that. Or we have some subscribers just incredible, and they'll take a market report out to evaluation, or they'll sit down with their iPad with Inform in front of them, and they'll say, well, let's look at the market, and you can see that, you know, prices are actually pretty flat at the moment. You know, the transaction numbers have fallen away. You know, the other properties that are similar to yours that are sold recently, perhaps, you know, maybe didn't sell for quite as high price as you thought you might have got. So therefore, we're going to price your property at this. And like, so they've built up a price and evaluation based on evidence and based on telling a story about what's happening in the market. And that's, I mean, how professional is that?
Yeah.
You know,
I think
on the extra mile.
The other thing about professionalism as well, Rory, there is that, of course, I'm talking to many of your clients. Obviously, I know there. And look, yours was a great service in a normal market, but in this post-lockdown world as well, where you can't leave the glossy brochures and everything else there, and it really is being able to deliver these messages digitally. It's ever more vital, or rather, it carries ever more value to be able to do so, doesn't it?
Yeah, and just on absolutely, I think that we noticed that I guess in March, we had a lot of we saw a lot of agents stay very on social media, were there. I guess that was their shop window at the time, and we've also noticed that now that social media is key, staying present across the channels, and all of our content can be used digitally, which is what we've seen. Even the flyers that we design for print, I've seen some brilliant posts about this is our market update for this week in LA 41 or LA 15 postcode sector, and it just looks to the audience, just to get that regular monthly market update, even if it's social media digitally, creates some.
I think it's in the early days. Sorry, Sam, I was just gonna. In the early days when we launched Inform, like all our clients up to that date were sold on the concept of, yes, I totally believe that I need to share my market knowledge to get more business. But then in the early days of Inform, some very few people, but some people might have said, oh yeah, having Dataloft Inform is probably a bit of a luxury. We have not heard having Dataloft Inform as a bit of a luxury for probably 2 years now. And since lockdown, I think it's flipped around completely, and everyone's bought into that. They need to have a product like this, because if they're not informing people about what's going on in the market,
everyone else is.
Then they're falling miles behind all the people that are. So that's been really great. I mean, you've felt a real uptick in, Grant, when you're chatting to agents all the time about, I really must have this. I've seen what you're doing for other people, and that's been really heartwarming for us at Dataloft. It's really the concept of having access to market insight has really become vital rather than a luxury.
And definitely, and I think that everyone knows it's very difficult to come up with content consistently and regularly, to take the time to think of trying to come up with content. And now maybe agencies have got people on furlough, marketing people still on furlough. It's mightily important, and I guess the brilliant thing about Inform is that
hopefully is he doing a dramatic pause there, Rory?
I don't know. It's a Shakespearean moment coming up.
I don't know. I mean, what we are seeing there is what he's saying, though, isn't it? Is being content and being a content king is not easy by definition, is it? And so what you've got is, if you've invested in systems like, great systems like Brief Your Market or ActivePipe or MailChimp there, you've got the mechanism for delivery. But what do you ultimately end up saying and sending them there? So to have this, this content pool of relevant stuff is going to be a godsend. Hello, Grant. You all right? I think he's froze. He's froze again.
I don't know where you start with content. Otherwise, I mean, I got an email from Peter Knight, who obviously both work with, and it was kind of about it. The title was just blah 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 blah, and a lot of the content that goes out there is just blah blah blah, but it's sort of meaningless. It's not relevant. It's not personal, or it doesn't appeal to people because it's not about them.
Yeah,
it's about me as a company, and so but it's incredibly difficult for an agent who's so busy, and often our clients, the director is doing the director's job and the marketing job, and he's doing a bit of sales viewings and lettings viewings. So to try and get hold of content that's not blah blah blah, and that really your audience is going to go, oh, that's really interesting. Absolutely impossible. So that was the idea behind Inform. We'll arm you with absolutely tons of it, and the ones that are that use it really proactively are putting stuff out every day. So
How do you reconcile if you have agents that are working, that are ostensibly competitors? Do you have any kind of Chinese wall mechanism? Because you can't you can't put out all the same stuff, can you?
Oh, it's a good point, and I guess that's one of the biggest questions I get in relation to a sort of exclusivity in a town. And what we try to do is we'll always cap it in a town. We wouldn't want every agent in a high street having it, because it will dilute that. I guess and we talk about marginal gains just being slightly different to your competitor. So what we would do is we would do that. I mean, I guess the big thing is there's so much content in there that we've never actually had a time. I can't.
Oh, God. I know what he was about to say.
He was about to say, wasn't he, that he's never had a time where it's come up with the same.
So all of the reports. So we've got like 5 market reports. We've got a range of 6 flyers. We've got prospecting letters. So they're all branded. So for starters, they've all got the client's particular brand colors and stuff. They're all editable, so they can edit the text on them as well. And then like Grant was saying, there's thousands of bits of content. So yes, we might get a few people that send out the same infographic on social media, for example. Yeah. But at the end of the day, what most agents do is take Rightmove stuff out or use Rightmove stats, and that's like 90% of the market.
Totally homogenous, isn't it? Out where people there.
And we only we work with, I don't know, sort of 5% of the market.
Yeah.
So and that's across England and Wales. So it's very unlikely you're going to get an issue of.
I can't remember. I can't remember it. I can't remember that, to be honest. But very, very rarely happens. But what you do find, if it's with the infographics, what we try and chat to agents about is personalising them. The message that you put out on social media. The infographic is like a framework to start a discussion. It's the thing that catches someone's eye, and then you're doing a personalised message on it that's related. How does that infographic relate to you and your branch? And that's the difference, I guess. It's just a conversation starter, the infographic. It's to grab.
It's not the be all and the end all, is it? You can still put your character around that and personalize that in whichever way you want, isn't it? But at least it gives you that most important thing to stop you, I suppose, if we take the analogy, stop you having the writer's block, isn't it? Jesus, what am I sending out now? Well, we've got the perfect excuse for whatever the stand we want to go with.
Just a market report, for example, is like creating a 2-page report yourself as an agent. Yeah. God, it would take you weeks. So what you can do is it's all in place. You don't have to do editing or any work at all. You could literally just download it in seconds. But if you do want to edit it, you can. And you could even say, there's been 100 sales in Derby in the last month. But we've actually sold 50% of them, or the average price in Derby is 220,000. We're selling on average for 250,000. So there's little bits of editing you could do to add your own personal stamp to it. But it's worth its weight in gold, just saving all the time of kind of building it each month.
But guys, thank you very much for your time today. I'd love to have you back on actually in a few months' time and talk about a few more of those partnerships, because they genuinely sound really exciting.
Yeah, lots coming up in the autumn. Thanks, Simon. Thanks for your time. It's brilliant.
Keep wearing the merch, as you know.
I will. I'll wear it all weekend, I think, especially with the sun out. It'll my head being burnt.
I'm not sure about the combination with the ginger beard.
Well, no, it's not. Moroccan sunset is the actual colour for it.
Well, I've insulted the Scots, Rory. I'm not going to do the gingers as well.
No. Not ginger, by the way. Okay, so I'm.
Cheers, Darren Lewis. Cheers, guys. Okay, thank you very much. Speak to you all soon. Cheers.
See you later.
Thank you.